Canby, welcome to the March 5th, 2025 City Council work session. Tonight's work session is to discuss the performance evaluation process and some updates regarding that with the City Council and as it pertains to our city administrator. Joining us this evening is, and Sally, please, I apologize if I butcher this, is it LaJoy?
It is.
Okay.
Hey.
So we brought her in to help us kind of weed through this and figure out the best process to move forward and get this completed. So real quick, Maya, we'll start with Maya and we'll just do introductions around the board.
Hi, I'm Maya Benham, Administrative Director and City Recorder.
And I'm Eileen Stein. I'm Eileen Stein. I'm the City Administrator.
Jason Padden, member of City Council.
Tracy Hensley, City Council President.
Brian Hodson, Mayor.
Jim Davis, City Council.
Dan Stearns, City Council.
Paul Waterman, City Council.
And Herman may or may not be joining us. I'm waiting to hear back from him, but we also have a Councilor Maldonado.
Okay. So some pieces to kind of, as laid out with you, Sally, and informing the council. So a couple of things, and I think we may have, so first piece is one, deciding on an evaluation form that we need to make sure that we're all kind of in agreement on so we can move forward and use that form for the evaluation process. And then discussing what are our next steps to get this accomplished. I know that Sally, you and I have been, and initially was talking with the council about trying to get this accomplished perhaps by the 12th. There's been some suggestions of changes, and so we will get into that. So Sally, I'll turn it over to you for your introduction to us and how you foresee this moving forward.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to meet you all. I'm the council mayor. I'm Sally LaJoy. I'm a mediator and arbitrator in private practice. I also handle workplace investigations and workplace facilitations and mediations. So I have a in employment, workplace issues, as well as a history working at Multnomah County in labor relations and HR. So kind of a varied background, but in the last 6 years, I've been mostly exclusively in neutral. So I also handle some special education work through the Oregon Department of Education. So I'm looking forward to working with all of you. Workplace issues are really my specialty, I would say, in what I do in different settings and scenarios. So as far as how I see this going, so feel free to jump in if you have any questions for me. As far as I see this going, my understanding is you need to decide how you want to, you need to sign the form, basically explore the process for how you want to get that gathered and then presented. And my understanding is I'm going to facilitate gathering the information and then I would say consensus and consolidating it into one space on some level form that you decide you want to use. And then from there, I believe you're all taking it to the next step, which is to present it.
Yes, and so that's been some of the dialogue with that some of the counselors have expressed. So some of the change that has been proposed is that I think when you and I were talking through email, Sally, about the process that initially there was conversation of myself and Council President Hensley being the ones to really kind of maybe deliver the evaluation aspect of it. And there's been some new dialogue about maybe that is now not the case, that the council wants it to be the entire council to be part of that conversation. So that's some of that process piece I think that we need to get worked out. Am I missing anything from what was sent out? So Sally, I think take care of the easy one first here, and that's which review, performance review form the council would like to use. I think those were sent to you as well.
They were.
Okay. So the council had those sent to them as well, and they are in front of them. And so I will open it up just for thoughts on the forms. Councilor Patton.
So for my part, I was under the impression that that we were going to kind of work through the process of developing the goals document. Because any job that I have done, the goals document is really what drives the evaluation form. Depending on how that goals document is formatted, then sort of tells you what sort of tracking mechanisms need to be used and how the evaluation will go. And so when I reviewed these particular evaluation forms, one of the other things that we've made very clear is we try to stick to clear and measurable goals. And some of the ones that are in this document are a little squidgy and could be left for interpretation. So several times I have mentioned, ways of doing this. And so in a fit of pique, I hammered out a process for folks to check out tonight. So if you're interested, I'm happy to share with you what I put together and see what you think.
Okay. Do you have copies?
I do. I do need to email you. I wasn't sure if, I thought you were going to be maybe here in person. So I'm sorry, it was, what is your name again? I'm sorry. Sally.
Sorry, I was on mute, Sally.
What is, does anybody have her email address that could share it with me?
Maya does, okay. You might not want to record that.
We probably won't broadcast that.
Yeah, if you could write it down or whatever.
So while that's being worked on, yes, Councilor Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. And Sally, thank you for sending these forms out. I thought that they were very appropriate forms to use. Measuring for me as a city council to be able to measure the job performance of the city administrator. I'm not familiar at all with what Councilman Patton is proposing, but I'm a strong advocate of using yourself to help facilitate this process without interrupting what I have reviewed already from you, without adding yet another dimension from another entity or another counselor. I support option 1 form. I feel that those are very measurable and very specific, that I would be able to fill that out and to answer those questions. I feel that we know what the council goals were for last year, and those can be embedded in these options in the evaluation form that you've sent out. So I support option 1.
This is a lot for that second.
Oh, sorry, yes, Councilor Stearns.
Mr. Mayor, couple of things that are questions and stuff I think that we need to resolve. Now, when we're doing whatever evaluation sheet we use, am I doing an evaluation and then we are averaging everybody's out afterwards? Or are we, as a council, going through and, collectively, like I might say unsatisfactory, somebody else might say outstanding. How, as a council, do we resolve differences in opinion? Or are we going to discuss these things through before we actually submit a final evaluation? That's my one question, which I think should be resolved, because obviously we all look at things differently, and it'd be nice to not be kind of blind to what other people think. The other thing is, I've been thinking a lot about this, and although I do like these formats, I haven't read your things through yet, but I think there's two things that we probably should overall be judging, the city administrator on. One is how well she accomplishes the goals, which I think having the goals of the city be part of the evaluation, I think is important. And the second thing is how obviously she manages. But how she manages, I think it will really find out a proper way of how she manages by interviewing directors, the people she manages, because otherwise I have no information on that, because I don't sit around, watching it unless we have, closed caption or TV cameras or something. There's no real way I can evaluate it other than by asking maybe directors or something to that opinion, because otherwise I'm just going blind when I say, does she do a good job interacting with people at the city? Well, I just don't know. So those are my two concerns. I think I didn't like option 3, but option 1 and 2, I think were okay. But I have still that question whether we're going to ask those questions collectively or individually. If we're doing it individually, how to resolve differences of opinion.
No, so to answer question 1, that originally the thought was, based on our last conversation about this, was that yes, each one of us would do individually, we would do our own evaluation. Okay. And then it was then a matter of taking those, we'll jump back in the Wayback Machine for a moment. It used to be all 7 of us would do our evaluation. We would sit with the city manager and we would go section by section and talk about each section and right then and there share the feedback and kind of determine the rating for that section and then overall. This time we've kind of decided to change that, which is fine. And so again, the conversation was 7 separate ones and then trying to collaborate those into one form that would then be delivered through us. Instead of 7 separate ones, it would all be distilled down to 1 and then delivered to our city manager.
Okay.
Was what was talked about. So what that would be, so in one of the options, I think I had put out there, I highlighted some sections in option, I think it was option 2, and that was a question. If we go with option 2, as you finish the writing of those, do they go to Sally to kind of read through and put the feedback together based on what was said? Does it go to our city attorney? Does it come to me? So that's part of whatever option we go with, that's part of what we would need to figure out is who collects it, who then collects the information, and then from there.
Because the thing is, if I have a opposite opinion of somebody else, I would like to hear why, because I might change my mind because they might have some information I don't have, or vice versa. I might have information the other person doesn't have. And I'd like to have the opportunity to be able to change my mind based on input from other people.
So on the 12th.
Because if I'm by myself looking at this like,
So the idea was that on next Wednesday, we would come together with what we have written down.
Okay.
And have that dialogue as the 7 of us with Sally to then hash that out to say, well, great, I rated her as exceeds expectations. Well, great, I did needs improvement. Okay, well, why? And let's hash that out so that we have a one voice document and a one voice presentation to our city administrator. So did you have something? And I'll go to Councilor Patton.
Yeah, I love that we have Sally here with us to get us through this process of deciding on a process. But what I don't want is to create a process that requires a consultant every time. I want us to be able to have a process in place where this is how we do it and this is what is done and we can do it. But this is the first time we've needed a consultant to come help. So that's why I'd like to get back to us facilitating our own reviews.
I agree.
I just wanted to throw that out there now before we get too far down this road. That's all I had to say at the moment.
Councilor Patton.
So for me, it's 2 things. One is the impression I was under after our previous conversation was that you and Council President Hensley were going to essentially work with a facilitator to create this process, to figure out what the goals, to distill goals for essentially the next review. Because we have already filled out at least one set of evaluation forms. And just give me a minute.
Let Jason finish.
We have we or have we not filled out a set of evaluation forms already?
Some have,
Yes,
some
we
haven't,
have.
and none have been turned in.
Yes, we have. I have filled out the evaluation forms that was given to us months ago. And then we sat down and had an additional meeting. And one of the problems that we had was that when it came time to do that evaluation, the goals document that was originally talked about sometime over a year ago essentially did not get finalized. So we all were working off of different information to do our review. Eileen had a document with her information, and none of us were on the same page. So for me, it was like, what I thought this was going to be about was figuring out what that goals document was going to look like, figuring out what the review process would be, and also figuring out what the goals setting process would be. And I am of the opinion that, so when I got these, I was like, why are we starting with review forms as the beginning of the process when really the goals should, the way the goals document is written is what will lend itself to the evaluation form. So that is why, so this thing that I have passed out, which you may or may not care to review, is a goals document format, a scoring, the way the goals document would be scored. It is a tentative process for how the review would be done, and it is a tentative process for how the goals would be set. So now, if the directive is that we need to use one of these to do a review again for Eileen this year, then that's fine. I will pick one of these because I want that put to bed. But what I really want to focus on is creating a process that we all agree on, that can be memorialized in our documents so that the next time we do this, we aren't reinventing the wheel. And it is clear, it creates clear and objective goals that can be monitored and maintained and reviewed, and the process to do that. So when the council changes, the process doesn't necessarily change. It's still there. So if I read the tea leaves wrong, and this is to do yet another review of Eileen, that's fine. But I developed this as a way to try and stimulate conversation about what sort of process we should be moving towards.
Counselor Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. And Jason, I appreciate the work you've done on it, number one. And I think the important part here is I've been in municipal government now for over 45 years, and I'm very much used to the format that Sally has sent to us, either option 1 or option 2. I was, and I think they're very workable, either one of the options are very workable to complete the performance evaluation. My understanding when we left our last meeting is that we would want to come up with a process that we can use not only for this evaluation, but for future evaluations. And that's why we asked the mayor to go out and to look for a consultant as well as a process, so then we can memorialize what that process is going to be moving forward. And I'm sorry, but I did not do any evaluation at this point on the city administrator, which is long overdue for last year's performance evaluation. So I appreciate what Sally has sent out. I understand the process and feel very comfortable moving forward with the recommendation.
So, food for thought. This should have been completed back in November. October? November.
November was the contract.
November. Just cursory look at this makes sense. Okay? So I think as a moving forward process, I could see this going, us working on that. For the short term, for us to collectively have the dialogue, collectively have the conversation with Eileen, put that to be done, and then go through and visit this and find and look at this as either we look at this and go, that's the process, or we stay with the review form that we decide on tonight, but either way, whatever we go with or decide to change with, we've got to do quickly because we're halfway through the year for her this year. And if we want to evaluate her in November properly or differently, then it's going to be, one or the other. So I think time is of the essence. I don't want to do this haphazardly. One of these here, there were 4 or 5 of them sent to me. I took out 2 of them that were too much like the one that I sent out prior. And these were really the best 3 that I thought. And so that was why I went with this, to be a little bit more expeditative in what we were doing. Yes, Councilor Stearns.
Reading through what Jason did, this is actually great. I think would be a great thing to do. They don't have time to do this. One thing I would personally look into the option 1 and 2. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 options. I'd like on some of them to put a 6th option saying insufficient information to make a judgment.
Oh, for the rating?
For the rating, just because, for example, staff management, since I'm not present, I don't have any input from city employees. They just don't talk to me. I don't know why, maybe I'm too busy or whatever. But they don't talk to me about the interactions with Eileen at all, whatever interactions I do have with them. I would like to have that other option of saying, hey, I don't have, an opinion on it. So if that's a possibility, I think I would feel more comfortable instead of making up something.
Yeah,
like,
so
that I could say, meets expectations.
traditionally, and at least in my world of retail and restaurant, there's always been some sort of a Likert scaling in terms of evaluation, right? So
Yeah.
there's meeting expectations, great. If you are doing what's here on the paper, you're meeting expectations. I've always worked with exceeding expectations and then consistently exceeding expectations is usually but these work. So it's usually somewhere along that. If there's an area in any of these that you are like, I don't know how to rate this or have how to provide any feedback on, it is totally acceptable to say,
Leave it blank.
leave it blank or write NA and non-applicable,
Okay.
or, not enough information.
Not that I think it's an important thing, it's just one I
Sure.
haven't had any data, and that's why I was
Absolutely.
suggesting some sort of meeting with directors to get some sort of information in which to form an opinion. Otherwise, it's like, who knows?
I have a,
Yes.
sorry, go ahead, you.
So it's
Oh, no,
okay.
you- I'm
I've tried
sorry.
a couple times. It's okay. Do you have, go ahead, and then I'll go.
I guess my question is, again, Eileen is here. Is there any input on how it's gone in the past, how she's done this before, like 3 other cities? Like what's the, because you're gonna have to do a self-evaluation of yourself probably too, right? So does this make sense? Like what makes sense to you?
First of all,
Microphone.
First of all, I'll say it has to make sense to you, that you should think about this, evaluating the city administrator, taking me out of the equation for a second. The second thing I'll say is that past evaluations that I've had in other cities most closely resemble option 1.
Okay.
I have a question about if you choose option 1, are the competencies that are listed on the option 1 form the competencies that you want to evaluate your city administrator on? Because those that are in option 2 are slightly worded differently. So I would advise you to spend some time really thinking about what it is that you want to evaluate your city administrator on. But I kind of like option 1. It's the simplest. It's the most, it has, strengths and challenges or opportunities for improvement. So it reads to me the best.
Yeah.
So that's just my opinion.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Council President Hensley.
Thank you. I think option 1 and 2 are very close, but I like option 2 better for a couple of reasons. One, it's an easier on the eyes read, to be honest, the bullet point list versus all the.
I also have this in a Word document, so I can
But,
blow it up and make it
but
better for
I
us
also
blind
like
people.
the rating, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because then that's tabulated. And to answer Daniel's, or Councilor Stern's earlier question, in the process on option 2, it actually does say that this information be sent to the city attorney for tabulation.
Well, I added that.
Oh, did you? This isn't
The-
how it
no.
came from Sally?
So the grade areas in 2 was language that I changed because, again, not
I
knowing
was
what the
not clear on
council,
Okay.
I wanted to include
Well, I do like that.
discussion options for the council and where it goes.
That was not
So
clear to me.
if we're
Okay.
going to be meeting next Wednesday, hopefully, to have a group conversation, then it's really not being sent to anybody.
Okay, and then this one that Jason just sent, I wish actually I'd had more time to digest it. I will read this later. But at first blush, it looks like it has some merit. I want to look at it. I think that for the purposes of next Wednesday, option 2, we could easily, in these categories, plug in the goals for her from this year and use this form. So that's just my thought. I think I like 2 with changing the bullet points to what our goals for the year were.
Councilor Davis?
Thank you. Mayor, how do you want to resolve this?
Well,
Because at this point, I'm ready to make a motion to especially listen to the city administrator and to the consultant that we've asked to do this process. I would be prepared to make a motion to do option 1 based upon what the city administrator has said and based on my experience in municipal government. This option 1 is much easier for me to evaluate and to score.
Councilor Patton, you had something?
So really quickly, I don't believe we can make a motion and do votes
In
in
work sessions.
in work session. We can say
You're
this is
right.
the one that
We
we
can do a
prefer to
consensus,
do.
yeah.
Which is
Consensus.
fine. So I just want to reiterate something. I was working under the false pretense in my head that tonight's discussion was creating a bigger process, okay? So for me, if the 12th is about using one of these evaluation forms, I'm happy to go with whichever one is the consensus of the council. For me, I came in thinking that we were going to be talking about long-term processes. That's why I created this document. This is by no means, this is just my thoughts on paper.
Sure.
As a launch pad for more conversation. Obviously, the consultant, Sally, correct?
Yeah.
Did you end up getting my email?
I did, thank you.
Okay.
And I reviewed it, I didn't have time to really evaluate it.
It's lengthy.
Yeah, so, yeah, it's a bit. I was up late at night the last couple nights putting this together. But for me, this is more of this might be a good place to start, sort of thing. So for me, if option 1 is the one that most people are willing to go with, I'm fine with option 1 or option 2. I just want to get this year's evaluation done and start the next process. Now, I will say this, when we get into this, consider, one of the recommendations I have in here is that instead of tying the city administrator's reviews to a calendar year or a stop-start date, that we actually correlate it to our goals, essentially our fiscal year, which is our goals setting year and our financial year. Because most of what the city administrator is being evaluated on is the progress of those things. And so tying them to that thing so that we are doing the evaluation at the close of our current year's goals, and then the new goals reflect the new goals that the city is bringing in, is one of the things that is in this recommendation. But we're putting a pin in that and moving, and I'm, like I said, I'm good with option 1 or 2.
I'm good with option 1 or 2, but I do want to memorialize going forward. This is the process. This is the goal sheet. This is the evaluation sheet. I don't know if a fiscal year works or not because of contracts, but we can look into that later. 1 or 2. I like 2, but I'm fine with 1.
Eileen, before I go to you.
Yeah.
Sally, as you've been sitting here listening to us wittily banter back and forth, do you have any initial input?
I have one question, and then maybe I have input. When you refer to the goals, are these goals that were set for the city manager as just part of the normal performance evaluation process, or are these citywide goals that are part of the evaluation?
Her goals.
So these were specific to the city manager.
Okay, okay. And so those goals are currently part of Form 1 and 2, or they're not, those are based on the job description?
It's mostly based on the job description, which does mirror options 1 or 2 in terms of the categories that are laid out there.
I looked at them and they all made sense. 1 and 2 seemed more, 3 just were a lot of different criteria. It seemed like it might be a lot for all of you to get through as a group. And there were a lot. All of them were good. And I think well written. I always feel like it's simple, but enough room to give. What Form 1 had was it had opportunities. And so it has some space for more, not just the rating scale, which I think is really helpful for our employees. So, clear measurable goals, but then there's always a lot of gray areas and conversation about what's happening and what, why are there opportunities and what's really working for people. So I would say that I thought that feedback was helpful, that you have space for that. I have a question about if it's gathered in advance and everybody completes the form, will that be sent to me in advance for me to review and sort of get a sense of where there's consensus? Or do you just want to do all that in the session next week?
Well, my initial thought was to do that as a conversation piece next week. So that if, to Councilor Stern's point, if we go with form option number 1 and we discuss community relations, and I think that, Eileen's activities out in the community have met expectations and somebody sees otherwise, then we can have that dialogue together and iron that out versus then having to probably send them to you distill it, and then we come back and, create another meeting to hash out what was meant by that. So that was the hopes with next week's meeting.
Understood. There aren't that many of you. It seems manageable to have a conversation, go through the forms and the feedback, and all of you find consensus on what you want the end result to be. That seems manageable.
Okay. Eileen, and then I'll come to Councilor Patton.
Do you want to go first, Counselor?
No, I have to remember what I was going to talk about, I guess.
Oh.
I can't remember raising my hand. Go ahead.
My question is, how do the council goals that get set every year, which we're reviewing tonight, how do those get reflected in this option 1 so that I want to make sure that we're making progress on council goals? That's one of the, first priorities of city administrator is to make sure that council goals are being met. So how does that get reflected in this sheet?
That's a great question. And so I'm just going to speak for me. When I sit down and work on writing out whatever form we decide, I'm going to have that document beside me so that I can pull those as examples of what's been worked on, and how they've been worked on, and then, how are we moving those forward or not moving them forward? For whatever reason. So that's how I'm picturing that document working together, but that's for me.
That's how I see it.
Counselor Patton, did you remember?
Yeah, I think it was something along the lines of, it wasn't just the council goals that were part of her goals. It was like community engagement and staff harmony. And I mean, I don't have that in front of me, but I remember there being some notes about things like that. So because I misinterpreted, I read the tea leaves wrong. I didn't read a whole lot into this because I was pretty agitated. But it seems like these ones in option one are fairly malleable and will capture sort of a lot of those things upon interpretation, if that makes sense.
Counselor Waterman?
So the way I'm looking at this is the city goals or the council goals. So I'm going to be looking, like I said, we're looking at those. Basically, every single one of those goals and kind of in general, I'll be looking at, council relations, how the council relations working with those goals with us. Community engagement, are these council goals being communicated and worked with the community? The fiscal management, and even with the staff management, we have staff coming to us all the time, giving presentations and so forth. And so part of that evaluation for me is with the staff manager, are they coming prepared? Is staff communicating properly and stuff? And so to me, those are the responsibilities of the city administrator to do that. So I'm seeing staff management in terms of us, not necessarily like, are you showing up for work late type thing? That's not what this is.
That's not,
Right.
I think that's a great summation, Counselor Waterman, is that, so when, I thought Todd bouncing around here, so when Todd comes and presents, and is he prepared? Does he have all the information from his, part of the team that's helping him present that? And is that been
And other members
hammered
of the
out by the
staff
city
and stuff,
manager
right.
and him before walking in front of us, kind of a thing?
Right.
So that's the staff management piece. That's kind of what I see in that core competency as well. Staff relationships.
Right.
That aspect as well. Operations management would be just, the day-to-day operations of the city. Are we operating, is Eileen ensuring that the day-to-day operations in all the departments are being handled? And if so, great, what have we seen and what do we want to continue to see happen? If not, what is it that we haven't seen and that we want improvement on?
Yep.
Counselor Stearns.
Because we have to get this done quickly, I think, option one is good to go on that. I do think that reading through patents that has merit, and we should I would like to do that format. I don't really like it. My discomfort with this is that I've always said, and of course I deal with small businesses, but the purpose of any evaluation I do isn't to give a score. It's not like the IRS asks me, is this a 5 or a 4 tax return? It's to find specific things to improve or habits that we don't like to improve and to keep people moving and help them give feedback to do a better job. I think the scoring thing is just, Likert scales I think are good for surveying large populations, but I think the utility breaks down when you're just small groups.
Well, and again, I agree with that, Counselor Stearns. I think it's not so much the rating. It's about the justification of how you're seeing it, right? So if you're feeling that the city manager or, if we had a city attorney, needs improvement on something, right? And you rated
comments are
that,
gonna be more
but the
important.
comments and the feedback
To support your
are going to be
decision,
more
yeah.
important to support that,
So I'll focus on that.
right?
This is more for long-term, so last year we're here, have we moved up the scale or
Has,
not?
has Eileen met, the goals that we've set out, and are we moving forward in a capable way?
So I'm good with one.
So far I'm hearing a lot of number one, Form 1.
I can do one. I'd rather two, but that's
Quick
fine.
question.
One's fine.
Yes, sir.
Can we get this in a PDF fillable form?
I have it in a Word document.
Okay, and we
Then I
can pre-fill, we can fill it out on the computer.
Yeah. I'll send a Word document, and then you can save it as a, you'll have access to it that way.
Okay.
so that you can go in and type it into the boxes.
Okay, and
Perfect.
second question, I have no problems with sending my input to Sally prior to our, so that I think it's important for her to see some of the comments so she can start putting together some of her thoughts.
Okay.
That might help facilitate the process and go a little bit quicker.
Okay. Thoughts, comments on that? Yes, Miss Eileen.
I have one other comment, and that is, so as you fill these out, you may have objectives for goals that you want to see your city administrator improve on or do that are not the council goals. They are just, getting back to the specific goals for the city manager for the next evaluation period. I don't see a place to put those goals on this form.
On option
Could that
one
be
form?
under the opportunities like Sally was talking about? You got the strength and then the opportunities with understanding that if we've got some
I think she means
opportunities,
categories.
those could be goals that the city administrator could work on.
It should be listed as a competency though, right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm almost feeling like there is missing, a missing section on this form. I like this form, but I'm wondering if there needs to be a consensus process where you say, these are the following, 5 things that we want you to work on this next year.
I think when we distill it down, when we get together and distill it down to the one document, probably not every comment that every one of us has made is going to be on that. It's going to be what we all agree, these are the final goals.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that would be, that's what we would be doing
Other
next.
than trying to interpret, what are those opportunities? There could be 10 different opportunities, and I'm like, or the city administrator is like, what do I do with this? So, so if there was some group discussion around, we agree that the following 5 bullet areas are what we want you to focus on this next year, it will really help.
Yeah, and I think probably that's what a bulk of the conversation on the 12th will be.
Okay.
What are those, great, here is what we see as 5 successes that you've had, and here's what we see as 4 or 5 things that are areas that we want you to create a plan around and address. So, Councilor Patton?
I have no problem of making notes about, things for emphasis the next time around, but I think we need to, before we set the goals for the next time around, we need to hammer out the process.
Yes.
And that process, what we decide on as far as a document, like the goals document, is what is going to then drive how those goals look. Like getting that information and compiling it and having it along the side so that when we actually set the next set of goals, once we go through this next process, I have no problem with that. But as far as saying we've finished the evaluation tonight, now we're agreeing that these are the goals moving forward, I will not get on board with that.
Okay. Okay. Yes, Sally, your hand is up.
If I might just ask a question or make a comment. Well, first of all, Councilor, I think it was Councilor Patton, sorry, sometimes I can't see your name badges, but your placards. I believe you said you couldn't get on board with, did you say if the goals weren't determined for the next go round, what's sort of their process?
I'm saying like if on next week, people say, well, I think we need improvement here, I think we need improvement there, I think this should be a goal, I think that should be a goal. I'm fine with setting that aside and compiling that information for when we set the goals, but I do not feel that we should be then setting the next year's goals that night, that we need to figure out what the goals form is going to look like and what the process is going to look like before we then create that new goals document to review with the city administrator, in this case Eileen, for her next review.
I think I can agree with that. Just put all of our notes from next week in our parking lot for that next discussion.
Yes.
Like, I see what you're saying, and I can get on board with that.
if we do that, what would we actually have in the opportunity section that we're going to provide to Eileen?
That's a great question.
She's got her hand up.
Yeah, Sally, sorry. It takes a village to do, to work with us.
Well, you're all the deciders. I was going to say that, and I'm glad I asked Councilor Patton what the final suggestion was regarding the setting of goals. I was going to say that you would probably know based on, I've usually seen strengths and then opportunities. And opportunities are usually opportunities for areas that could change slightly in the future. So those are opportunities for growth, opportunities for goals. So after you have that section completed, you'll probably have a pretty good idea about what the goals would be for the next time period. So you could talk about that next week and look at the opportunities, or you can do it at a different time. But I think normally I see strengths and then opportunities are opportunities for growth or maybe professional development, or, sometimes an employee self-evaluates and says, I want to work on my knowledge of leave laws, or, whatever it might be. I'm going to go to classes, or I want to learn Spanish, whatever it might be. But that's usually, those are opportunities for growth or different areas of improvement. And then you would know maybe how to tailor your goals from that.
Yes, Council President Hensley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In the past, we have received in advance of the evaluation, the city administrator's self-evaluation. I'm wondering if that's the intention this time, that we will get an email from Eileen before our meeting on Wednesday.
Well, so Eileen and I had a discussion about that last night at our meeting, about depending on what form it was, could that be turned around to us in time for us to have a conversation on Wednesday? And Eileen, thoughts?
I'm not feeling comfortable to be able to do that. It's short. I'm just concerned that I'm going to be able to do a quality job on a self-evaluation in, when would you want to see it? By Monday? So I guess I would work on it over the weekend. So,
By Monday would be, in my view, the latest we'd want it, because we need to then do our evaluation by Wednesday.
right. So I'm concerned about being able to do a quality self-evaluation in that short of a period of time.
The only other option would be to move the 12th meeting to a different Wednesday.
Well, then if that's the case, then I need to discuss with Sally her availability, because the contract we worked out was for tonight and the 12th.
Right, I get that.
So
But this is kind of an important piece in my
I
view anyway.
don't disagree with that. And so, so we have the 19th is our next city council meeting. That would be the 26th, which is smack dab in the middle of spring break. I'm not going anywhere. It doesn't matter to me,
Neither, Mayor.
but again, I don't know what Sally's availability is.
Unfortunately, I'm not available the 26th. I'm available the 12th and the 19th.
I'm sorry, say that again,
Available
Sally.
the 12th and the 19th.
Yeah, I'm not available the 26th for the next couple Wednesdays after that.
What does the agenda on the 19th look like? Is it short enough we could do this after?
That I don't, we can take a quick look at that.
Yeah,
I would try and scoot it in front, but if we
Yeah, I
have a
don't-
short agenda, we could do it after.
I don't have that in front of me right now.
Okay.
Councilor Patton?
So I guess my question, so now I need to, so it sounds like, Sally, you were essentially going to help for 2 days with this process, and then that was going to be the end of it. Is that kind of what was determined? Because I guess for me, the way I was reading it was, she was going to be a part of the process of sort of helping us flesh out what the overall process was going to be.
And if that is something that we want to go to and do, and we want to elicit her services, then she, either Maya and her, we can work out figuring out the date for that. What is the ongoing process going to be for us?
So I am just going to be a bit advantageous here and take advantage of the situation and say, if Eileen is going to need some time to get her self-evaluation done, and we may need to move it back to a future Wednesday, but we already have it planned that we're going to do some work on this on next Wednesday. Would it be possible for folks to sort of take a look at what I've put together? Everybody sort of make some notes. Sally, you can weigh in as to whether you think this is a valid process or not, start to poke holes in this, and start to work on that, how the process and what that evaluation form is going to be like, so that maybe when we actually do her goals, that process is already, like, the bread is already made and we're just ready to put it in the oven and start baking it.
I agree with that.
That could be the case.
We could do
I
that.
agree with that.
So Sally, to put you on the spot, I mean, the 19th would be something that you could be flexible and free you up the 12th and
No,
schedule
not
us
for
for the
your
19th?
He's saying do the 12th, do this conversation. Did I hear you right, Jason?
Yeah, I say like on the 12th, this week, over the course of,
Oh, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
look
And
into
then
this.
add the
and
19th.
Make
So
some
the-
notes, keep the 12th and start to work on developing the process. And then on the 19th, do
Do the evaluation.
evaluation, and then start like, and then go from there.
We would need to add a few hours to Sally's contract.
Yes, Maya.
I think, if I'm hearing correctly, that process can't be done, I mean, it would have to be done in open session, and both Teresa and I will not be available next week to do that on the Zoom portion, so we'd have to figure out,
The process of flushing out a new
flushing out,
process.
I think that has to be done in open session.
Right, it does.
Well, can't we?
So the process piece has to be an open session, and then,
But we can make it an open session, can we not?
so
We got a week's notice still.
Sally, you had a comment?
I just had a question. When you were originally planning to gather the evaluation information, do you think that you would have the city manager's self-evaluation, I think self-eval by that time, or can you do it and then complete your own evaluation and then review hers and then do a finalization? I'm wondering if you can still keep to your schedule. Yes, I guess I'm asking kind of how are you using the self-evaluation and what are your interests in analyzing them simultaneously?
So for me, reading into that is the self-evaluation is Eileen presenting the pieces that she's worked on, that we're not in the day-to-day operations of things that are going on. So there's things that we may not even know have been handled or dealt with within these categories. And that gives her an opportunity to state her case on, why she feels that, if it's something that's above, like it exceeds expectations or is outstanding, and she wants to capture that and make sure we know about it, then wants to defend that. That's what I would want to see from Eileen. If she feels that she meets those expectations, I don't think that she's going to need to write a diatribe on how she's meeting the expectations, other than maybe a couple of things to support that. So kind of what I'm hearing you say, Sally, is so if we as a council stay on our timeline, get together on the 12th, does that now change that, how I've explained that?
Well, no, I was just inquiring how you were going to use Eileen's self-evaluation. So if that makes sense to me, that if you want to have that, if there's additional information you may not have otherwise, because you do yours, that's, I understand that. That was my question. Was how are you using it?
Councilor Patton, your hand was up.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I am not particularly comfortable filling out all this information without the self-evaluation. The self-evaluation and the information I have kind of have to go together to fill out the form, rather than filling out the form and then getting the self-evaluation and then reevaluating what I put in the form just does not make sense to me.
The duplicity of work, because I always love duplicating work. It's so much fun.
I have a
Okay.
question for Maya.
Yes.
Maya, my question's for you. So starting the discussion on the forever process has to be an open session. I know you and Teresa aren't going to be here, so the reasoning behind that is we can't do the open session. The executive session is what we're noticed for Wednesday, the 12th, is that correct?
I haven't noticed anything yet for the 12th.
Okay, but we need one of you here to facilitate an open session, is that the other piece of it?
The
or-
open session would need to be broadcasted.
One of you would have to be here, okay.
Yes.
Okay, so that makes, so the 12th can't happen, okay.
Jason?
I guess for me, is it, and I'm not trying to diminish what you do over there as the computer wizard, but, I mean, the planning commission meetings, and there's other meetings that happen in here where the stuff is, where it is on TV. Is because we're not going to be doing a lot of different things, and there's probably not going to be PowerPoints and stuff, is there a way to idiot-proof the system enough that someone could figure it out to do the recording and have it broadcast, so we could still use that?
Potentially, I mean, I would need to just double check with Willamette Falls and also with another staff person to
Okay.
see if that would be possible.
It just seems unfortunate to lose that, because we're talking about all the work that we have to do. If it's at all possible to utilize the 12th, I think it would make sense to do that.
And I'm just concerned about being able to do a quality self-evaluation in such a short period of time.
No, totally fair.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Okay, so what we've got decided is Form 1. We've got that decided. The 12th is in limbo. So maybe, Maya, if that is something that you can check with Willamette Falls on, and that additional staff person that might be able to help us set us up for the 12th. And then Sally, would you be available and willing to do, and would you, sorry, let me backtrack. Sorry, Sally. Eileen, does having something prepared for us to discuss on the 19th, is that enough time?
That is, yes.
Okay. So Sally, would you be able to join us on Wednesday, the 19th?
After session.
It would be later, it would be more of an after session, after a city council meeting. So it'd be it would be later in the evening.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
I just wanted to for all of you, or that'll have been a long day for you, and then have a council meeting, I don't know how long the meetings typically last, but as long as you still all have to.
Hopefully it's a short agenda.
Needs to get into the evaluation, but I'm happy to be there.
We're workhorses. We're just, we don't sleep. We just eat and breathe this stuff. So,
Everybody,
Yeah.
hunt your council liaison reports next time. No, hunt them to next
Okay,
time.
so does that sound like
Truncate the
a
agenda.
plan for this group for the next couple of Wednesdays on this matter?
Yeah.
Okay. Sally, I will work with Maya, and we will update the agreement that we've got with you so that we capture the 19th, and then we can discuss. So we're potentially on for the 12th, definitely for the 19th. And then we can discuss, again, fine tuning the process in the future.
And question to clarify on the 12th, that would be, if that meeting takes place, that would be to talk about long-term planning on how this is handled in the future, I
Yes.
believe. And would you want me there to help facilitate that?
Yes,
Or is
please.
that-
No, the council would love to have you here to help facilitate that.
Yeah, your expertise would be very beneficial.
Now, for that part of it, would it make sense, like, I could not send this out to everybody in advance because that would be breaking the rules. And plus, I was up until about 1 o'clock this morning typing this. So,
You want consensus from the group to send that out?
well, or have you or
Somebody needs to
Maya
send it
or
to
somebody
Herman.
send it out and then make some markup on this and then maybe send that to Sally and then,
Send it to Maya, and she'll send it out to all of us.
correct.
There
And
we go.
then we maybe send that information to, like, thoughts to Sally. And then she can kind of read through that and distill it down and say, yeah, this process is garbage, or yeah, this is a good point. Maybe we take a little bit of this and a little bit of that and voila, sort of thing.
I think that would be prudent. Sally, does that work for you?
It does, but I'd be giving you feedback when we're meeting on the 12th.
Perfect, yes.
That-
You
yeah.
can save the
Yeah.
feedback for the
Yeah,
12th.
that would be fine. Perfect.
I mean, just one suggestion I would say is it seems like you have a lot of different interests here in what you're trying to do. So thinking about what those are in advance can be helpful. So, long-term planning so that this is easier in the future, ease of process, just thinking about those so that if you have the same goals, it's easier for you to make your decisions.
Okay. Okay. Anything else?
I move we adjourn.
Okay, so Sally, thank you for being here this evening. Hopefully, we didn't scare you off from, working with us in the future.
Yeah, she's have technical
We're going
difficulties next
to
time.
adjourn our work session and then go into a quick urban renewal district meeting before the city council meeting. Sally, thank you very much for your help, and Maya and I will be back in touch with you ASAP.
Thank you. It was nice to meet all of you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Nice to meet
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I will adjourn our work session.
Okay, colleagues, we're not going to take the time to switch our badges because honestly. District meeting for March 5th, 2025. We'll forego the pleasantries to the next meeting. Is there any citizen input? There's no citizens in the building at the moment, but do we have anything online? I didn't think so. So the one and only item on the agenda is the consent agenda.
Chair Hensley, I approve approve the consent agenda, which includes the approval of the January 22nd, 2025 Urban Renewal Agency meeting minutes and reappointment of member Jack Pendleton to the Urban Renewal Agency Budget Committee with a term ending June 30th, 2027.
Second.
It's been moved by Vice Chair Hodson and seconded by Commissioner Davis to approve the consent agenda that includes the minutes from the January 22nd, 2025 Urban Renewal Agency meeting and the reappointment of member Jack Pendleton to the Urban Renewal Agency Budget Committee with a term ending June 30th, 2027. All those in favor? Aye. That's 7-0. And the updates that we need, Eileen, what's the next thing on the agenda?
Any updates?
The next thing on the agenda is updates.
Urban renewal, no updates.
No updates, okay. That's the end of the business. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, I'll give it to Hog, because that's who I heard first, and Stern second. It's not the made old motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Good night, Cammy.
Good evening, Canby, welcome back. It is March 5th on your calendar and here in the council chambers, and we are going to start our city council meeting. It's been a busy evening already. We had a work session at 6, and then a little urban renewal district meeting, and now the city council meeting. The glorious job that we do as the city council. So if you please stand for the invocation and then the Pledge of Allegiance. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you so much for this great community. Thank you for the spring weather that we are seeing this week. The flowers are starting to bloom, and Canby is slowly coming out of the winter doldrums to be the garden spot that it is. I ask for your blessings on our community, on the leaders that are here on the dais tonight, and thank you for their wisdom and their leadership and their stick-to-itiveness in their duties as a city council. I ask these in your name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. Eileen, do we have any new employees we're introducing tonight?
We do not.
We do not.
Not tonight.
Okay. Next up is citizen input and community announcements. I have no yellow cards. Maya, is there anyone in Zoom land that wants to address the council? There is not. Okay. We will consider that piece done. Next up is approval of the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda that includes the minutes of the February 19th, 2025 City Council regular meeting, the appointment of member Olivia Benrent to the Heritage and Landmarks Commission with a term expiring June 30th, 2025, the appointment of member Robert Westcott to the Canby Utility Board with a term expiring on February 29, 2028, and the reappointment of member Deanna Ball-Carb to the Transit Advisory Committee with a term ending March 31, 2028.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. The motion has been made by Council President Hensley and seconded by Councilor Patton to approve the consent agenda, which include the minutes of the February 19th, 2025 regular meeting, appointment of Olivia Barrett to the Heritage and Landmark Commission, appointment of Robert Westcott to the Canby Utility Board, and reappointment of Deanna Ball-Carb to the Transit Advisory Committee. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That passes 6-0. Next on the agenda this evening are, we have one ordinance this evening, and that is ordinance 1640, an ordinance authorizing the city administrator to execute a contract with Lawson Corp. In the amount of $2,808,695 for the Northeast 10th Avenue Improvements Project and declaring an emergency. Eileen, do you have any?
I have no update on this.
Okay.
It does have an emergency clause, so it would go into effect tonight.
Excellent. Mr. Spencer, would you please come up since you're here this evening? We did talk about this 2 weeks ago, but would love to hear you opine on this project. I recently did the city council, State of the City address, Chamber of Commerce, and that was a question that came up, was this project.
So we are excited to get this project going. If we get all the contracts signed and everything, we're hoping for in the next 2 to 3 weeks to actually get guys out there starting to tear up the road and put new sewer storm down and then start putting in sidewalks and new ADA ramps. So
Wonderful.
I did want to address, Jerry asked me to tell you, you had asked about undergrounding the power. At this point, I'm not going to say that nothing is impossible, but for the scope of the work and kind of without having a set plan, it would be kind of irresponsible to try to set all the pipes in the ground and not know exactly where they would need to end up, as well as delaying the project, and it would kind of negate the point of trying to do the emergency clause.
Okay.
So
See, it was worth having you come up to the table.
there you go.
Perfect.
There you
Spencer,
go.
thank you very much.
All right.
Appreciate
Mr.
it.
Mayor?
Yes.
I move to adopt ordinance number 1640, not ordinance authorizing the city administrator to execute a contract with Lawson Corporation in the amount of $2,808,695 for the Northeast 10th Avenue Improvements Project and declaring an emergency.
Second.
Motion has been made by Council President Hensley and seconded by Councilor Maldonado to approve ordinance 1640, ordinance authorizing the city administrator to execute a contract with Lawson Corp. in the amount of $2,808,695 for the Northeast 10th Avenue Improvements Project and declaring an emergency, and roll call vote.
Counselor Patton?
Aye.
Counselor Maldonado?
Aye.
Counselor Davis?
Aye.
Counselor Stearns?
Aye.
Counselor Waterman? And Council President Hensley?
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. Ms. Stein, any old business this evening?
No,
Okay. How about new business?
we do have some new business.
Wonderful.
Yes. Yes. So Council and Spencer, if you want to come up and you might answer questions about the project, but we're looking for you, Council, to accept the offer from Clackamas County of $500,000 to improve North Pine Street and direct staff to bring back an intergovernmental agreement that would get worked out. So your options are, are you satisfied with $500,000? The project will obviously cost more than that, but that's the offer from Clackamas County. Or do you want to direct staff to renegotiate the county for a different price and possibly leave North Pine as a county road and unimproved and not accept the funds, which I don't think you're going to accept the funds or not accept the funds, but the offer from the county is $500,000.
So we have been slowly chipping away at getting county roads that are within city limits under our jurisdiction and for us to take care of. I know that Jerry has been back to the well a couple of times with county and has, as well as myself, with not much success of getting more than the $500,000. It is, we can dig our heels in even more and try to continue that fight, but that just,
Spencer, is this their final answer?
I haven't been a part of the actual negotiations. I'm just getting the reports from Jerry on it. It's not a flat 500, that's just the approximate at the moment. I think that this is a fair offer in comparison to the offers that you guys have already accepted for Redwood, Pine, Maple, Locust. They are putting in for the ADA ramps. So what this money would go towards is replacing of the asphalt and the ADA ramps. We kind of are figuring that it would be roughly about another 750 to go through and do a full street project similar to what we're doing on Maple of sidewalks and curbs. Good thing is the rest of the infrastructure down Pine is in decent shape, so it wouldn't have to go into a bigger project. I don't know, I personally think that it's a fair offer in comparison, but that's for you guys to decide.
sure. No,
Oh, that's important, thank you.
I hope that we can move forward with it. Yes, Councilor Patton.
Can I make a motion?
Yeah, please do.
I move to accept the offer of $500,000 to transfer jurisdiction of North Pine Street to the City of Canby and authorize staff to negotiate an IGA with Clackamas County for consideration at a future council meeting.
Second.
Okay, motion has been made by Councilor Patton and seconded by Council President Hensley to accept the offer of $500,000 to transfer jurisdiction of North Pine to the City of Canby. Any other questions or conversations? Yes, Emily.
So sorry, I might have missed this already. So county offered 500.
The county gave us an approximate offer around 500. We haven't fully settled
Okay,
price. So I
so-
think what staff is mostly wanting for here is, are you guys comfortable with that price? We will come back with a hard number and an IGA. So I don't know if it's truly accepting of an offer right now.
Yeah, so at this point, I think just general consensus, like 500-ish, subject to final dollar amount, and then subject to IGA terms to be negotiated.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess you're getting a head nod of, yes, go forth.
So we scratch
Try
the
to
motion.
squeeze another,
Yeah.
25K out of the deal and bring us back the dollar amount and an IGA. Yes,
Withdraw
Councilor
your
Patton?
motion.
So then may I withdraw my motion, and do I need to make an amended motion or a different motion? Or are we
think-
just doing a head
Consensus.
shake?
Emily's just giving us a head shake of,
A nod? Okay, that's fantastic. No, I was gonna say, with considering what is going on, I read an article the other day about the situation with the state and the state of our, road construction.
bad news.
Any money we can get is money we need to stick in our back pocket and run for the mountains. So I'm all for it.
Yeah. Yes, Councilor Waterman.
So when we go, we still have the opportunity to do a final vote on whether we accept what they offer, right?
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
so as we're finding it, yeah, it's just group nod saying, yes, go forth, try to get as much as you can and bring us back the final number and an IGA.
Okay, they say, oops, sorry, it's only 250, and we can be like,
No, then Jerry and I will go camp out in the county offices and make sure it happens.
I'll go with
Yeah. What's that?
Sorry, I was minding knocking heads, but that's not.
Yes, Councilor Stearns.
Just out of curiosity, like, not to, I think we should pursue that, but do we have the ability to put $750,000 in the near future into Pine?
That is the million-dollar question that we will.
$750,000.
Sorry, $750,000 conversation that we will have to have with upcoming budgets. So,
So,
But we're not going to say no to their money, just.
so there we take the street and take the money, but we plan for improvements when we're able to
that's kind of how that works.
spend the money on.
Yeah, it'll go, it'll go into
Street
that
funds.
fund so that it'd be dedicated to that when the time comes. Yeah, we won't.
We can't use it for fireworks or something.
No, we can't use it for fireworks or, for another canine unit.
Yeah, and what'll end up happening is, once the city takes control of it, Jerry will then work, correct me if I'm wrong, but Jerry will then work the redoing of that street into the long-term plan. Because I think you folks look out 5 years.
Correct.
Of streets, and so then that street will redoing that street will get worked into that, and maybe by then, maybe some more houses will develop or something, and it might be even cheaper, so we'll see.
Higher street maintenance.
That's right.
Okay, so you've got your marching orders on that, sir.
All right.
Thank you, Spencer. Okay. Item B.
So council, the next item of new business is a report back on your fiscal year 25-27 city council goals. And so the leadership team met to review these goals that you preliminarily identified on January 31st. We modified them and worked them into something that we're now ready to present to you. So just wanted to comment about the items. Those that are mentioned in blue font are items that are pre-existing goals, but we moved them into a different goal category. For example, consider updates to the city charter. Those that are in black are current goals that we're carrying forward into the next 2 years, and those that are green were identified as new goals for the year. So that's how that works. Then there's the department that is responsible for making the most progress on this goal. In the fiscal year, we identified what quarter of the fiscal year we expect to get to the project. There is a council priority list in the event that you want to change the priorities that we set, but this is staff's best work in terms of how the the work would flow over time. And then just notes, just notes that we wanted you to know about. So that's how the chart works. So I don't know if you want me to go through each item or if you have any questions at all.
So next steps, Eileen, so you want us
So
to
if you're,
digest this and
yeah.
provide feedback?
Yeah,
Or
so
bring it?
if you're okay with this, or if you want to give me feedback, please do. The next step is to, you'll see these in a future meeting for adoption by resolution. Yeah.
Okay.
Questions or comments on those? Yes, Councilman Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few notes on here, reading the notes on the side, evaluate the options for recruiting a hotel and developer to Canby, revisit whether the council is interested in creating fiscal initiatives for recruitment to attract a hotel. Council would like to explore all options, including but not limited to private partnership incentives. I didn't remember discussion about that, where we would be interested in being in the hotel business, or what that means.
I think where that might be coming from is when we were having that conversation, if memory serves me, oh, wait, hold on a second. Wasn't some of that conversation held in executive session?
Perhaps, I don't know.
It was.
I don't know.
Yeah, can't.
So as I understand it, the question right now is, do you want to revisit that decision? Do you want to revisit the decision on whether the council is interested in looking at financial incentives to recruit and attract? So, and including the idea of a public-private partnership. So the question is, do you want to revisit that decision that was, but I don't want you to say that tonight. I want you to, to determine if you want to revisit that decision, in which case we would schedule an executive session if it's appropriate.
Yeah, I believe the last place we left it was we wanted to come back with what our options are, so, yeah.
Okay. That's why it's in fiscal year 24-25 Q4, which is the remainder of this year. So my understanding was that there wanted to be some discussion about this item in a meeting this remainder of this fiscal year.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how that works.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
thank you.
No, I like the addition of the, when you think you and your team are going to be able to
Yeah.
either start on or,
Yeah, it's not quite a Gantt chart, but it's, it's our best guess at, what quarter of which, which fiscal year, what quarter we think we're going to be able to get to the work.
no, and that, and for many of us up here, it is the government grinds slowly, and it also must be nimble and quick, because sometimes things come up and we've got to course correct based on a grant or something that we thought was item 7 now becomes item 1 because we got funding or something has changed and now we got to check and adjust. So, it is always the best kind of like
Yeah,
thumb guide.
I will work with Emily to determine whether or not what gets, well, with Jamie, obviously, but with Emily to make sure that what gets presented is executive session material or not. So, a lot of it just depends on what you end up discussing.
Yeah, and if not, then we make it a meeting agenda item sooner or later. Okay. Cool. Any other comments or thoughts on the goal piece that staff has worked on? No?
That's
Okay.
good.
Great.
So I guess next steps are we make sure that this prioritization is good, and if it is, we're done. Or if we want to move things around, make a note of that.
Make a note of it and then
Okay.
send it, and then,
Well, the thought was that if there was hopefully you would discuss that tonight if you wanted to move any of these orders around.
Okay.
Because the next step would be to work these into this format, present this format, and adoption by resolution.
Okay.
So you wouldn't see it in this tracking sheet, you would see it in this format.
Okay.
So I guess for me, and when I had read through this for tonight, everything made sense to me. So I would not need to see a reprioritization of anything.
Okay. Any other feedback, thoughts? Counselor Davis?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I would like to spend more time reviewing this in just the fact of the notes over on the right-hand side. If we approve these, then are we approving those notes on the right-hand side?
Not formally, you're approving the goals, promote financial stability, align resources, and then you are approving this column here. The notes are just for the sake of understanding, what staff is thinking about that item, so, right.
Okay.
Yes,
So the
Counselor.
notes are fluid, everything else is getting locked
Exactly,
in place.
yeah.
So everyone's okay with the current prioritization and layout? See head nods? Okay. So Eileen, I think we're good.
Okay, thank
Do
you.
you have what you need from us?
I do, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The next thing you'll see is a resolution adopting the goals and the objectives.
Wonderful.
Yep.
Okay. Any other business items on your end or new business items?
Not new business. no.
Okay. I'll go into mayor's business. I don't have much to report tonight. Clackamas County Coordinating Committee is tomorrow evening, so I'll report on that next. Region 1 Area Commission on Transportation. We are not meeting this month. I think it is next month that we will be meeting, so I'm not meeting on that. Presented the State of the City address to the Chamber of Commerce on Tuesday at the luncheon. It was well attended, lots of good questions. I will be doing that again on Tuesday evening here in council chambers. I believe refreshments start at 6 and presentation and Q&A at 6:30 here in the council chambers. So if you're interested, general public, anyone, community members, want to come down and see what's going on in the city or hear about it and ask questions, please feel free to come down and do so. First Thursday is tomorrow evening downtown, so the weather is supposed to be nice and spring-like, so come on down, patron the businesses, hang out, and I think that is all that I have right now. So we'll start with Councilor Patton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'll keep it fairly brief. I attended the chamber luncheon as well and heard the State of the City address, but if there's going to be refreshments and cookies on Tuesday, I might come on down for that too, Everything went very well, and I always enjoy going to the chamber luncheons because I try to sit at different tables with different people and hear kind of what's going on in the business community. So that was awesome. The Heritage and Landmarks Commission is on fire. They now have a full slate of adult citizens, and they are actively working to recruit a student citizen with a school. And they did their election of officers again because technically they couldn't do it last time because of quorum things and so on and so forth. They've got Tyler Hopping doing grant writing and such. And so they are hitting the ground running after a bit of a hiatus. So that's awesome. And then I attended along with Council President Hensley and Councilor Davis what will probably be one of our last policies and operating guidelines meetings, subcommittee meetings. A lot of work has gone into that document. After Emily reviewed it, there was surprisingly few changes that needed to be made. So a real testament to the work of the group to dial that in well and move it forward. And so I'm looking forward to that hitting the daylight and coming to you folks to hopefully not tear it apart too much. So, yeah, so that's that.
Great, thank you. Councilman Maldonado, any comments or questions?
Just a comment. As you know, I've been dealing with the Canby wrestling team. They're starting to close up their season. Regionals are this weekend. We had a tournament last night and 2 weeks ago. I just want to express, these kids are absolutely phenomenal athletes. They work their butts off for it, and to the parents, top-notch control over your emotions whenever the kids get on the mat. The one thing I would like to say is whenever your children are in any activity, any sport that's demanding of their body, please, please, please make sure that they are properly hydrated, properly fed, and they're getting enough sleep. We had an incident at 2 weeks ago where a young man had a seizure on the mat because he overheated. So I just want to stress, please, please, please make sure your children are eating, drinking, and sleeping properly. Other than that, the boys and girls have just been kicking butt. They're going to regionals this weekend. So if we do good there, it's state.
Excellent, thank you, sir. Council President Hensley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council Patton already covered the policy meeting, but the only thing else I have is Traffic Safety Commission. We actually meet next week, but we have a couple more days, so just one more reminder to the public. We have an open seat on that committee. We do have a couple of applications that have come in, but we have until 5 p.m. Friday. So if you're interested in being a part of the Traffic Safety Commission, get your application in by 5 p.m. Friday. And lastly, Councilor Maldonado had a birthday this week, so happy birthday. That's all I have.
Councilor Davis.
Thank you, Mayor.
I wanted to say Chief Davis, but it doesn't apply.
Yeah, he's just counselor now, not
We,
chief counselor.
Park and Rec Committee will meet later this month. Last month, as you'll recall, I reported that they were working on the projects to recommend to the Public Works Director in regards to next year's projects. Dodds Addition Park is moving right along. We've also been including the Neighborhood Association for input on that design of that park as well. Eventually, that will be in front of the council with the design once the Park and Rec Committee has approved that. Adult Center is moving forward. And I understand Councilman Patton was actually up there helping with the auction.
Long couple of weeks, let me tell you.
Yeah, helping with the auction at the church facility where the adult center is going to be moving. They continue to be just extremely busy. Kathy and her crew are doing an outstanding job in regards to activities for the adult community. So hats off to the Adult Center. And I just had a quick question. We don't need to answer it tonight, but when are we going to be addressing the $3 million shortfall? Will that be in the budget process? Do we know when that will occur?
Shortfall, are you talking about the ARPA question?
Yes.
Yeah, we were going to handle, it was going to be part of the budget process.
Okay.
But I want to get with you, if you wouldn't mind, and go over and make sure that I'm tracking with what you were saying at the mid-year budget review. Just want to make sure that I understand what you're tracking, that I'm tracking with what you were questioning about.
Okay, very good. And I know it's an urban renewal question that moved to the Urban Renewal Agency, but giving direction to the Public Works Director to move forward with the First Street project so that we can get that moving as quickly as possible. So I don't know if we need to add an urban renewal subject for that process so that we can get that project moving.
Yes, Eileen and I were, in our meeting yesterday, we were talking about some of the upcoming work sessions and whatnot, and kind of working through that, and the Urban Renewal Agency and / district is a conversation, a topic that will be coming up quickly.
Okay, thank
And
you.
as chair of the renewal agency, I was going to talk to her on our renewal on Monday about it, so
Okay,
got it double covered.
okay, very
Double
good.
covered, yeah.
That's all I have.
Great. Counselor Stearns?
Nothing much, just quick question. Do we know when we're going to be dealing with the street maintenance fees issue? I know that's been sort of,
It's been kind of tabled. I
thought it was-
actually made a note here. I was going to ask.
is it going to tabled? Is it, we gave up on it? Is it in the
No,
works?
we have not given up on that. That is, again, Eileen and I talked about that the other day. That will be coming to us here sooner than later because we want to have a decision made prior to going into the budget season as quickly as we can. Counselor Patton, did you have something to add to that?
I actually I had a meeting with Eileen this morning, and that was one of the things that I had brought up was moving that forward. And so it might be good for you and I to connect and talk about what I talked about with Eileen, so that way you know for the work session, and we go from there.
Got it.
Don't worry, I haven't created some crazy process or trying to set the roads on fire or anything. It was pretty innocuous, so don't worry.
Counselor Stearns, anything else?
That's it.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Counselor Waterman?
On the 11th, Tuesday night, we have the Bike and Ped meeting here as well. The 18th is the Library Advisory Board meeting. Also, I'd like to reiterate the first Thursday. Please come down
Did you not push your button?
I did not. So in case you didn't hear, Bike and Ped meeting on the 11th, Library Advisory Board on the 18th. Please come down and join the festivities on first Thursday. Also, I'd like to point out and welcome and give some kudos to our new restaurant downtown, Andale. It's pretty impressive. Megan and I went in there, and it looks nice. Great food, great service. It's a really nice addition to our downtown, so I'd like to welcome them here. And that's all I have.
Okay. Yes, Counselor Davis.
I'm sorry, I'll go back.
You can have a go back.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention to the council that we are starting the installation of those libraries in the parks for the books. And we'll be putting up the post for the parks with 2 more posts that have been made for 2 more. I just wanted to thank Jerry Nelzine and crew for going out and marking the spots. Plus, they called for the utility marks to make sure we didn't hit a gas line or something like that tomorrow. But the Rotary is moving forward with that project.
No, it's a very cool project. Great. Okay. That's done and that's done. City Administrator Business and Staff Report.
So council, in addition to looking at your FY 25-27 goals, you also have in your packet the FY 24-25 goals. And so you asked for a status report on that outside of your quarterly goal review. So I did want to just comment on that, on some items. So adjusting the city's system development charges. So you had a workshop on February 19th, and then that will carry over into, that will carry over into in March 19th work session. So, yeah, that will impact the other discussion that you have. Yeah.
It'll be easy.
Okay, all right, we'll work it out. Housing production strategies work session on April 2nd. And then per the discussion about the hotel incentives, that was scheduled for March 19th in the regular meeting. But again, I will work with Emily on whether or not that's going to be an executive session discussion. When you discuss your operating policies, I wouldn't mind tacking on to the end of that discussion the formation of a charter review committee so we can get the progress going on the charter review committee. So I'm going to try to couple those two items together. Let's see. We talked about Pine Street tonight and going ahead with accepting that $500,000-ish item from the county. Let's see, staff regarding researching and funding options for parks in the current city limits and urban growth boundary. Staff is working on how much our park maintenance fee took care of the last time it was brought to the council in terms of deferred maintenance needs. And so I want to update you on how much deferred maintenance there is still at the parks. So that's happening. Still working on, identifying land acquisition for future athletic fields. We're still working on setting up a meeting with the school district on that item. Cappard has requested a work session with the council, and I'm trying to figure out how to schedule that in as well. They want to introduce themselves, talk about what their goals and objectives are, and so how to work that into the schedule is a bit of a challenge.
So, I'm sorry, Eileen, you were able to connect with Chairman Hale on that?
Yes.
Oh, good, okay.
Yeah. Again, I didn't get enough specifics other than we'd like to introduce ourselves and discuss what our goals and objectives are.
Okay. So it's.
For the Canby Area Park and Recreation District.
Okay.
It's an acronym.
I'm sorry, yes, I did use that acronym. So, let's see, conduct a community survey on customer service and city service levels. I'd like to revisit that issue in context of the FY 25-26 budget and see where we're at in terms of being able to afford that project. Creating a strategy for increasing youth engagement in local government, creating a strategy for increasing diversity in citizen engagement in local government, and developing a communications plan. Those will all be rolled into one communications plan that we will be prepared to present to the council in April timeframe. So. Let's see, update council policies and guidelines, work schedule. The work session is scheduled for 4/16 right now on that item. So, and then fourth quarter goal review is scheduled for also that same meeting, April 16th.
Okay,
So that's where we're at on our current goals.
great. Thank you, Eileen, appreciate that. Anything other business for us?
Oh, yes. Wanted to let you know that you may recall that Monica and her team submitted a proposal to City County Insurance Services for a Shark Tank competition. That competition or that conference was last week, and they ended up getting third place on that. So they earned a grant for $2,500 to be able to be applied to safety equipment in the wastewater area. So good for them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. And then the last thing I have is a request from Carol Palmer with the Heritage and Landmarks Commission, a request to put a letter into the legislature on House Bill 3190 relating to historic property special assessment and prescribing an effective date. So she would like to submit a letter on city letterhead. It would be signed by Carol and the mayor, and I just wanted to make sure that you were all okay with that letter.
Have we seen the letter in this email? It wasn't?
I think it was in the email, yeah, but I'm happy to send it out again.
I'll look.
Yeah.
See if I have it. If it's in this stuff.
Those that did look at it, is
It
there,
came today at 3:19.
has everybody had a chance to look at it, or no? No, not yet, okay. Okay. So when you do get a chance to read it, if it is something that you are behind, please reach out to Maya and Eileen and let them know. And I will make arrangements to get that signed with Carol, and we'll get it in.
Consensus, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see it, it's in there. I'll look at it when I get home.
Great.
You can put me down for a yes now, because I'm familiar with what was going to be in the letter, because they brought it up at the meeting.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
This bill will restore the assistance that was previously available when the legislature allowed the special assessment for historic properties program for commercial properties to lapse during the previous legislative session. So 3190 would renew that program. So, yeah.
I'll probably be a yes, I want to read the letter.
Certainly. Certainly. That's all I have, Mayor.
Great, thank you. Next opportunity for citizen input. Looking at citizens for input. Seeing none, okay. Action review.
You have approved the consent agenda, adopted ordinance number 1640, and there was discussion for staff to bring back an IGA with Clackamas County to transfer jurisdiction of North Pine Street to the city for consideration at a future meeting.
Great, thank you, Maya. All right, I will take a motion to
I move we
adjourn.
adjourn.
Okay,
Second.
all right, motion's been made by Councilor President, oh my goodness, Council President Hensley, and seconded by Councilor Davis to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, we are adjourned. Canby, thank you, good night, see you in 2